So I'm starting out the workforce, and right now, actually, it's really popular. Everyone online on YouTube is saying run your own business, start your own thing, chase your dreams, right?
Yes, yes.
So it brings us this conversation of,
Right.
in essence, salary versus contract,
Yeah.
salary versus running your own
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on, hey, having a 9 to 5 and a stable income
Yeah.
versus obviously a little more volatile, but you have your freedom,
Right.
if you will.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
yeah. What are your thoughts on those two worlds and finances?
Okay. Salary is, most of us will choose salary because it's predictable. You can build your budget around it. You can plan around it. It's safe. You know what you're getting. Um, there are benefits typically with salary, right? Employer pays the CPP, EI contributions, right? Whereas with contract, with self-employed, you're paying both the employer and the employee CPP. You're not paying EI. There is no EI when you're self-employed, but you are paying both the employer and the employee CPP. Um, so that can be a disadvantage in some people's eyes. But there's potential for a higher gross pay with contract and self-employed. Plus, as being self-employed, you can deduct, right, things you can't do as a salaried person. Um, as a self-employed, there's so many things you can deduct that can bring your taxable income down to a lower amount. So essentially, your take-home pay could be higher. Again, though, it depends on how successful you are in the contract world. Uh, there is a lot, I would say, over the last 10 years or so. You see a lot of push on social media for the gig economy. It's so easy to run your own business, earn your own business, the freedom. And it's true, the freedom is there, right? You be your own boss, you make your own hours. Who wouldn't want that, right? But it's not easy. And I hope no one's trying to make it sound easy, right? It's definitely not easy. But there's a way you can work towards that and be smart about it. But I do have a client who is self-employed. They weren't always self-employed, but they got to the point where they're self-employed and they're running a very successful business now. They started off working for a company in a salary position, learning the ropes, getting the experience, building out, and building on the side, building out their own client base. And it started as a side gig when they were working their main job. That's their safe bet. That's their stable income. And then working a side gig, and then eventually building that up, growing that part of it to the point where they're able to finally transition, say, okay, I'm earning equally here as I am there. It's still a risk, right? But I'm safe now. I know I'm generating enough. I've grown the business enough that I can make that jump and go that route. So they were able to do that. That's an example of doing it the smart way. It's a longer way of doing it, though. You have to have patience, right? I think a lot of people, they want to get rich quick approach. And sometimes people get lucky, and you will see that on social media. People are like, I earned, X amount of money doing this, buying businesses on the internet and selling them, flipping them and selling them, whatever it is, right? Or cryptocurrencies. There's a lot of discussion around that, right? But for every success story, there's probably 1,000 failure stories that we don't hear about, right? So you have to do your due diligence. You have to be very careful about it, be smart about it, do it the safe way, right? You working for yourself is very rewarding. It can be very stressful, a lot of sleepless nights, right? And he really, yeah, it can put a lot of stress on your personal life, on your family life, and you want to make sure that that's actually another point. A good point is you want to make sure that your family supports you on it, that they're on board with it, they have your back on it, and because you need them in your corner. There's a lot of people who decide to run their own business in whatever industry, and if they don't have their partner's back, or sorry, if their partner doesn't have their back, that can make it extra stressful, right?
Put it on the side until
Yeah.
you're ready, but like we have bills, we have life to pay,
You have
right?
lift to
Yeah.
pay, but definitely you can make more money. People are like, well, I know I'm going to make 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, whatever in the salary position. But if I go on my own, I can make, that's the sky's the limit. Yes. Well, but it's not just the higher income that you want to target, that you want to focus on, the higher take home pay that you get in the self-employed world because of all those business deductions.
It's a push and pull, right? Because like if you want to get a mortgage,
Yeah.
then you don't want to deduct too much. You still want to show you're making money. So it depends on the different phases of life and
Yeah.
business. That's a whole thing. And yeah, this is why you have planners.
Yeah.
Right? This is why you
Yep.
have-
And that's actually a very good point. On the mortgage side, when a bank is looking to lend to you, they're looking at your net income, not your gross income. They're looking at your net income. So you don't want to drive your income down through with business deductions too low that banks are not like, I don't want to loan to you, right? Another point is, people who just recently entered self-employed or they're working a position where they're paid commission, they need to show a track record, usually a couple 2 years of commission history for a bank to loan to you. So you have to be careful about that too, timing, right? If your mortgage is coming up for renewal, you already have a mortgage, and you just decided I'm going to jump into the self-employed world, you might want to talk with your mortgage representative, broker, before you, and your advisor before you make that jump.